everyone. Namaste. Myself, Mahima, currently doing my internship. I studied BNYS from Alvas College of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, Mangaluru, Karnataka. So today I'll be teaching about the basic topic in biochemistry, that is carbohydrates. So let's begin. The biochemistry of carbohydrates. These are the topics which are enlisted in our syllabus. Chemistry of carbohydrates, carbohydrate metabolism, glucose metabolism, and disorders of carbohydrate metabolism. So as it is a very big, long chapter, so we cannot finish it in an hour. So I have divided into 3 modules. There is module 1, module 2, and module 3. In module 1, it will deal about the basic, that is definition, classification, and biological importance of monosaccharides and their classifications, that is monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. In module 2, we'll learn about a major metabolic pathways, that is carbohydrate metabolism, both major pathways and minor metabolic pathways. And in module 3, we'll deal about regulation of blood glucose and glucose tolerance test and a major disorder of carbohydrates, that is diabetes mellitus, and other disorders of carbohydrate metabolism. So today let's begin with a chemistry of carbohydrates. This is a basic concept of a carbohydrates. So what is the definition of a carbohydrate? As per the text, it's stated like this. Carbohydrates are defined as polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones or compounds which produce them on hydrolysis. It's just a simple definition which states that whenever these carbohydrates are hydrolyzed or break down, they will form a polyhydroxyaldehyde group or ketone group. That's a simple definition of carbohydrates. And these carbohydrates are the most organic molecules in the nature. They are primarily composed of elements of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And the empirical formula of carbohydrates is CnH2nON. Then moving on to the biological importance of carbohydrates. So there are many more biological functions of carbohydrates are there, but I have enlisted only few of the biological functions of the carbohydrates. So the first one is the carbohydrates are the main source of energy in the body. Brain cells and RBCs, that is red blood cells, are almost wholly dependent on carbohydrates as their energy source, and they're not dependent on protein or fat for their energy source. And carbohydrates are the precursor for many organic compounds like fats and amino acids. And carbohydrates also participate in the structure of cell membrane and cellular functions such as growth, adhesion, and fertilization. These carbohydrates are a component of our cell membrane that is present in the cell membrane in the form of glycolipids or glycoproteins. And they're structural components of many organisms. Like they are present in the exoskeleton of the insects. Carbohydrates also serves as storage form of energy to meet the immediate energy demands of the body. So they serves as energy storage in the form of glycogen to meet the immediate energy demands of the body. So next, moving on to the classification of carbohydrates. They are broadly classified into 4 major groups. This is based on the number of sugar units. So there are 4 groups. First one is monosaccharides. Mono means 1. So there is only 1 sugar unit in monosaccharides. And second one is disaccharide. Di means 2. So there are 2 sugar units. And then is oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides means here in oligo 3 to 10 sugar units are combined to form a carbohydrate. In polysaccharides, there will be more than 10 sugar units. So we'll discuss about these in a brief. First, monosaccharides. So monosaccharides are the simplest group of carbohydrate and are referred as simple sugars. So the general formula of this monosaccharide division is based on the functional group. There are 2 types based on the functional group: aldoses and ketosis. What are aldoses means? If aldehyde is a functional group of that particular sugar unit, then it termed as aldoses. If a keto group is a functional group of that sugar unit, it is termed as ketosis. Example for aldoses is glucose and glyceraldehyde. For ketosis, fructose and dihydroxyacetone. And based on the number, and next division is based on the number of carbon atoms. Based on the number of carbon atoms, monosaccharides are divided into trioses, tetroses, pentoses, hexoses, and eptoses. Trioses means there are 3 sugar units, 3 carbon atoms in them, and in tetroses 4 carbon atom, pentoses 5 carbon atom, hexoses 6 carbon atom, and eptoses 7 carbon atom. So now you can see this picture. This is the difference between the aldose and ketose. Here you can see in aldose, this is a glyceraldehyde structure. In this functional group, that is CHO. This is a aldehyde group. So aldehyde group is attached to this sugar unit. That's why it is termed as aldose. So here C double bond O, it is a keto group. So it is attached to a this sugar unit. That's why it is termed as ketose. So here there are many examples so that you can understand easily between and differentiate between the aldoses and ketoses. So here aldoses, you can see the functional group. This is glyceraldehyde. Glyceraldehyde is a triose sugar because there are 3 carbon atoms here. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 carbon atoms. That's why it is termed as triose sugar. So here the functional group is aldehyde. That's why it is termed as aldoses. Same here, pentose sugar, ribose. See, this is the aldehyde group. For glucose also same. So these are the aldoses. And here the ketoses. The examples for ketoses are dihydroxyacetone. This group represents, it's a keto group. That's why they are termed as ketoses. So classification of monosaccharide, that is based on the number of carbon atoms. The trioses, first one is trioses, means 3 carbon atoms are there. As you see in the previous slide, this is a glyceraldehyde. So there are 3 carbon atoms, 1, 2 and 3. So in glyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone are the example for the trioses. So their glyceraldehyde function is, it's an intermediate of glycolysis, and dihydroxyacetone is a precursor of glycerol. And next is tetrosis. Tetrosis means there are 4 carbon atoms. Example for tetrosis is D-erythrose. So it is an intermediate of carbohydrate metabolism. And then pentosis. Pentosis example is D-ribose. It's a structural element of nucleic acid, RNA, and coenzymes. Hexoses are 6 carbon atoms. There is D-glucose, fructose, galactose, and mannose are the examples for the hexoses. Glucose is a main sugar of the body, and fructose converted to glucose and utilized by the body. And the galactose is synthesized in the mammary gland to make lactose of milk. And mannose is a constituent of glycoprotein and glycolipids. And the heptoses, the example for heptosis is D-pseudoheptulose, and it is an intermediate in the HMP shunt pathway. So next, moving on to the structure of glucose. As we all will already know that molecular formula of glucose is C6H12 and O6. And this is a linear structure, also called as Fischer structure of glucose. So this is C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 and C6. Here you can see this is the aldehyde group and this is a alcoholic group. This is a long chain or Fischer structure of glucose. And this can be written in a ring structure, is also known as Haworth structure. To write in this form, we have to know about this pyranose ring. So this is a pyranose ring, and there's one more ring called furanose ring. So this is a furanose ring. Furanose have 5 endings, whereas pyranose has 6 endings in it. So this is a Haworth structure of glucose. This is number 1, first carbon atom. This is second carbon atom, third carbon atom, fourth carbon atom, fifth carbon atom, and sixth carbon atom. The CH2OH is the sixth carbon atom. So glucose is hexose, comes under hexose, that is sixth carbon atom. So even a fructose is a hexose, but it is not depicted in a Haworth structure. As you can see, it has a 2 alcoholic group. So its numbering is like this. This alcoholic group carbon atom is considered as a 1. This is second, third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth carbon atom. This comes under hexoses. And this is an example, and these are the examples of hexoses, and these are the pentoses. In the pentoses, numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And moving on to the properties of monosaccharides. They are general properties are they colorless and they're crystalline compounds. They are readily soluble in water and sweet in taste. And the most important property of this monosaccharides are stereoisomerism. So let's see what is stereoisomerism. Stereoisomers are the compounds that have a same structural formula but differ in their spatial arrangement. So here there's a picture of glyceraldehyde. As you can see here, the glyceraldehyde formula, structural formula is same, but the spatial arrangement in the second carbon atom, the OH is on the right side here, and here in L-glyceraldehyde, the OH is on the left side. So the molecular formula remains the same, but a spatial arrangement is different. This is known as stereoisomerism. So this stereoisomerism, number of asymmetric carbon atoms determines the possible isomers of a given compound, which is equal to, this is a formula which tells about the stereoisomer, is 2 to the power of n. So here, as you can see, asymmetric carbon atom means this carbon atom is attached to 4 different groups. That is, this carbon atom is attached to one aldehyde group, one hydroxyl group, hydrogen atom, and the alcohol group. So there's one asymmetric carbon atom in the glyceraldehyde. So if we apply to this formula 2 to the power of n is 1. There's only one carbon atom. So 2 to the power of 1 is equal to 2. So there are 2 stereoisomers. These are the isomers of the glyceraldehyde. So there's one more term called enantiomers. Enantiomers are nothing but mirror images, but they are not stereoisomers. Stereoisomers are different from enantiomers. As you can see here, in this picture, and it's a mirror image. Here in D-glucose, you can see the HOH group, H and hydroxyl groups. Whatever it's on the right side, here it is on the left side. So these are nothing but just the mirror images. They are termed as enantiomers. The next property is D and L isomers. So this, we have been writing this L-glucose, D-glucose. So this property tells why we have writing this L-glucose, D-glucose. So the orientation of the H and OH groups around the carbon atom just adjacent to the terminal primary alcohol carbon. So this is a primary alcohol carbon atom, the sixth carbon atom. So this adjacent to this carbon atom is the fifth carbon atom. So here the orientation of the hydroxyl group and hydrogen atom. This determines whether it is belong to a D series or to the L series. So we'll see about the D-glucose. Why it is written as D-glucose means the hydroxyl group is on the right side here in this image. So this belongs to a D series. So in L-glucose, the hydroxyl group is on the left side. So it is belong to a L series. That's why it is termed as L-glucose. So the next property of monosaccharides is optical isomerism. So optical isomerism means when a beam of polarized light is passed through a solution of an optical isomer, it will be either rotated to right or left. So in this picture, it is shown when the beam of polarized light is passed through the solution of this carbohydrate solution. So the light will rotated if it is rotated to the anti-clockwise direction, then it is termed as levorotatory. So in levorotatory, we will write in the form of small l minus. So if the plane polarized light is rotated to the clockwise direction, then it is termed as dextrorotatory. So it will write in the form of d plus. And there is a device named polarimeter which detects the specific rotations of these optical isomers. And the next property is racemic mixture. So racemic mixture means D and L isomers are present in equal concentration. So it doesn't exhibit any optical activity because they are present in an equal amount. So it is a mixture, it becomes a mixture, so it doesn't exhibit any optical activity. So there is one more term called epimers. Epimers means if two monosaccharides differ from each other in their configuration around a single specific carbon atom. So it is termed as epimers. So now for example, take D-glucose and D-galactose. So the structure of D-glucose and galactose is same but different at the fourth carbon atom. Here, as you can see, in glucose, the hydroxyl group is on the right side, but here in the galactose, it is on the left side. So these two are known as D-glucose and D-galactose are known as C4 epimers because due to the change in the configuration at the C4. And one more example is glucose and mannose. See, like previous one, there's a change in the configuration at the second carbon atom. So here you can see at the second carbon atom, hydroxyl group is on the right side in the glucose, and in the mannose, it's on the left side. So these are C2 epimers. So this interconversion of epimers is known as epimerization. And coming to the last property of monosaccharides, that is mutarotation. When an aldose is first dissolved in water and the solution is kept in optical path and plane polarized light is past the initial optical rotation shown by sugar gradually changes until a constant fixed rotation characteristic of a sugar is reached. So to understand about this mutarotation, we need to know about the anomers. So anomers is different from isomer and isomer is different from epimers. So what are anomers means? Anomers are the isomers differing in configuration of particular carbon atom alone. So this is D-glucose. This is also D-glucose. But the extra is this is alpha D-glucose, this is beta D-glucose. So as you can see, this is a C aldehyde group. Here you can see the hydroxyl group is on the right side and the hydrogen group is on the left side. Here it is opposite. So if it is hydroxyl group is on the right side on the first chiral carbon atom, then it is termed as alpha D-glucose. If it is on the left, then it is termed as beta D-glucose. Because when it comes, so when if this mixture, if this alpha D-glucose is high in that mixture, then it will shows 112.2 degree. If the beta D-glucose concentration is high, then it will show 18 plus 18.7 degree. When these both comes in equilibrium, then it will show the degree of plus 52.7 degree. So then moving on to the disaccharide. So disaccharides are the most common, and the disaccharides are two monosaccharide units similar or dissimilar held together by the bond known as glycosidic bond. There are two types in this disaccharide. Reducing disaccharide means free aldehyde or keto group. Examples are maltose and lactose. Non-reducing disaccharide with no free aldehyde group or keto group. Example is sucrose. So this is a monosaccharide subunits. This is one sugar unit. This is one sugar unit. So when these two combine and they form a bond known as glycosidic bond, and this is a disaccharide. This is a disaccharide. So we'll know about reducing and non-reducing in the next slide. So the first example for disaccharide is maltose. This maltose is composed of two alpha glucose units held together by 1,4-glycosidic bond. So here you can see this is a glucose, first glucose. This is a second glucose. This is one unit. This is one unit. This alone is a one monosaccharide. This is a monosaccharide. This is another monosaccharide. So these two are combining to form a disaccharide. So this is how the number goes. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is the second carbon atom. So this is the first carbon atom, second carbon atom, third carbon atom, and fourth carbon atom. So the bond occurs is between the first carbon atom of the first glucose and the second carbon atom, fourth carbon atom of the second glucose. So the bond is 1,4-glycosidic linkage. So here there is in a first carbon atom, there is always a aldehyde group in a glucose. So it remains free. That's why it is termed as reducing sugar. And this bond, whatever it formed, this alpha 1,4-glycosidic linkage can be hydrolyzed by dilute acid or enzyme maltase. And there's one more structure called isomaltose, that is alpha 1,6-glycosidic linkage. Glycosidic linkage. Here, this one, the first carbon atom, and this sixth carbon atom, they'll form a linkage. Then it is termed as isomaltose. So second example of disaccharide is sucrose. This is produced by a sugarcane and beet sugar, and this is made up of alpha D glucose and beta D fructose held together by a glycosidic bond alpha 1 and beta 2. So this is a structure of glucose, and this is a structure of beta D fructose. So the number goes, as you already know this, a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And this is a fructose. This is already 1. This is beta. So it's already 1 is the CH2OH group. It's already involved in the bond formation. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is the structure of fructose. So here, it is a non-reducing sugar, and it cannot form oxazole because in this second carbon atom there is this aldehyde group is involved in the bond formation. Alpha 1 beta 2 glycosidic bond is formed, so it doesn't have any aldehyde group left, so it is known as non-reducing sugar. So this can be break by enzyme sucrase. And the last example is lactose. This is composed of D-beta galactose and beta D glucose. So this forms beta 1,4-glycosidic bond. This is also a reducing sugar. As you can see, this is a beta D galactose. This is a beta D glucose. So bond formation is done between the first carbon atom and the fourth carbon atom. So here the aldehyde group is free. That's why it is a reducing sugar. And it can be broken down by the intestinal enzyme called lactase. So it's all about disaccharides. Next, moving on to the oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides means there are 3 to 10 sugar units. So example for this are raffinose, stachyose. So they are present in beans, peas, lentils, cabbage, whole grains, and these are indigestible. So we don't have any enzymes to digest these carbohydrates. So they act as a soluble fiber and help to prevent the constipation. If they are taken in excess amount, it will be resulting in abdominal bloating and flatulence. And next, moving on to the polysaccharides. So polysaccharides means consist of repeated units of monosaccharides. It is more than 10 units of monosaccharides or their derivatives held together by the glycosidic bonds. So this polysaccharides main function is storage of energy, and they also have a structural functions. There are 2 types in polysaccharides, is homopolysaccharides and heteropolysaccharides. So what are homopolysaccharides means? On hydrolysis, it yield only a single type of monosaccharide. So because this homopolysaccharide, homo means it's same. So they are made up of same type of monosaccharide, same type of sugar unit. And heteropolysaccharide means on hydrolysis, it yield a mixture of few monosaccharides. Because it's a heteropolysaccharide is a mixture of many number of different kind of monosaccharide, that is sugar units. So moving on to the homopolysaccharides. So homopolysaccharide, first example is starch. So starch is a carbohydrate reserve of plants. So high content of starch is found in cereals, roots, tubers, vegetables, etc. It is composed of D-glucose units. So this starch is wholly composed of only by D-glucose. That's why it is termed as homopolysaccharide. So this is held by alpha glycosidic bonds. And this consists of two polysaccharide compound. This starch has consist of two components in it. So the first one is water soluble amylose, 15 to 20% is amylose, and water insoluble amylopectin. So amylose is a long unbranched chain. It consists of 200 to 1000 glucose units held by 1 to 4 glycosidic linkage. And whereas amylopectin is a branched chain with alpha 1,6 glycosidic bonds at the branching and alpha 1,4 linkages everywhere. This starch can be hydrolyzed by the enzyme called amylase. So this is a picture of a starch, and this is a picture of amylose. Amylose is a straight chain. It's an unbranched chain. As you can see, the glucose is connected, and it goes on like 200 to thousands of glucose are connected in a linear chain. So whereas in amylopectin, it's a branched chain. Up to here, this is the amylose, and here, as you can see, first carbon atom and sixth this alcohol group are forming a bond, 1,6 branching. This structure is amylopectin. There will be units of up to 200 to 1000 units of these glucose units will form in the starch. And next example for homopolysaccharide is glycogen. Whereas the starch was a reserve carbohydrate in plants, so reserve carbohydrate in animals is glycogen. This store in the liver and the muscle. So this composed of glucose units joined by 1,4 glycosidic bond in a straight chains and 1,6 at the branching points. And this cellulose, next example is cellulose. This occurs exclusively in plants, mainly in a plant cell wall. We can see the cellulose component. And this composed of beta D glucose unit. This also formed by beta D glucose units linked by beta 1,4 glycosidic bond. Though as we don't have the cellulase enzyme, so we cannot digest this carbohydrate cellulose. So this acts as a fiber. And the next example is inulin. Inulin is also a monopolysaccharide. This is a polymer of a fructose sugar. So this mainly occurs in dahlia bulbs, garlic and onion, etc. And this inulin is used for assessing the kidney functions through measurement of GFR. And next one is dextrins. Dextrins means they are the breakdown products of the starch by enzyme amylase. And next is chitin. So chitin is composed of N-acetyl D-glucosamine units altogether by beta 1,4. So this is a structural polysaccharide found in exoskeleton of some invertebrates like insects. They'll be present in their exoskeleton. So next, moving on to the heteropolysaccharide. Heteropolysaccharide means, as you all know already, this is made up of different varieties of monosaccharides. So this example for this heteropolysaccharide is agar. They are prepared from the seaweeds. It contains galactose, glucose and other sugars. So it is different. It contains galactose also, glucose also and many other sugars. That's why it is termed as heteropolysaccharide. So, and there is a term called mucopolysaccharides. So what is mucopolysaccharides? It's also termed as glycosaminoglycans. They are the heteropolysaccharides containing uronic acid, amino, and amino sugars. So they have, along with these sugars, they contains uronic acid and amino sugars in them. That's why they're termed as mucopolysaccharides. So in combination with protein, they form mucoproteins. Example for mucopolysaccharides are hyaluronic acid, heparin, chondroitin sulfate, dermatil sulfate, and keratin sulfate. So hyaluronic acid, they are present in the connective tissues, tendons, synovial fluid, and the vitreous humor of our eyes. So this hyaluronic acid, it serves as a lubricant and shock absorbent in the joints. So they are made up of two components, that is N-acetyl glucosamine and glucuronic acid. This hyaluronic acid is made up of N-acetyl glucosamine and glucuronic acid. And the second example for mucopolysaccharide is heparin. Heparin is an anticoagulant, means it prevents the blood clotting. It widely used when taking blood in vitro for the clinical studies. So what heparin does is it activates the antithrombin 3, so which in turn inactivates the thrombin and factor 10 and factor 9. It present in liver, lung, spleen, and monocytes. This heparin is made up of sulfated glucosamine and L-iduronic acid. So the next example is chondroitin sulfate. This chondroitin sulfate, keratin sulfate, dermatan sulfate doesn't have any biological functions, but their function is structural. Just they are present in our structure. They doesn't have any other functions. Chondroitin sulfate is present in connective tissues, widely distributed in cartilage. This chondroitin sulfate is present in cartilage, bone, cornea, and the skin. And they are made up of glucuronic sulfate and N-acetyl galactosamine. And next is keratin sulfate. This is found in cornea and tendon. It is made up of galactose and N-acetyl glucosamine. And the next is dermatan sulfate. It's found in skin, blood vessels, and heart valves. So it is made up of N-acetyl galactosamine and L-iduronic acid. And coming to the end, the biomedical or clinical concepts regarding this carbohydrates. So dextrose, which is glucose in solution in dextrorotatory form, is frequently used in medical practice. And this fructose is found in semen, which is this fructose is utilized by the sperms for the energy. And the major disorder of the carbohydrates is diabetes mellitus and other disorders like glycogen storage disorders and galactosemia. And these non-digestible carbohydrates play a significant role in human nutrition because they act as a fibers and they believed to be decrease the absorption of glucose and the cholesterol, and also increases the bulk of the feces, so it will prevent the constipation. And this accumulation of sorbitol and dulcitol in the tissues may cause certain pathological conditions, like example cataract and nephropathy. It's maybe due to the accumulation of these sugars like sorbitol and dulcitol. And inulin is a polymer of fructose used to assess the renal functions by measuring the GFR, that is glomerular filtration rate. So this is the overall presentation about the basic chemistry of carbohydrates. So in our next session, we'll learn about the metabolism of carbohydrates, that is pathways, major pathways and the minor pathways. And like this class, please like and share it with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe channel On Your Growth. Thank you.